met my wife, Amy, in the summer of 2002. We were both volunteers at this camp in California. And we were the only college-age kids at the camp. And so we just ended up spending all of our free time together in the evenings. And then the way that the camp was set up during the day, we had the same work assignments as well, so we ended up spending all our days together as well. When I met Amy, we just clicked together. She was super anxious and a little depressed, and I was super depressed and a little anxious. Like filled in the gaps for each other, you know? And we had bonded the very first night over our mutual agreement that we did not need another person to make us happy. We were going to be alone, and that's what we were going to do for the next foreseeable future. And that's really how we came together. And then by the end of the week, I knew that Amy was the person that I wanted to take care of for the rest of my life. So she, when I met her, she just made me feel at home. She didn't care about my disability, which was something that a lot of people do care about. She didn't want to fix me, and she didn't want to take care of me. She just wanted to be with me. And so we stayed together. It was from that weekend on, we've been together. We got married 2 years later. And then a year after that, we found ourselves moving to Durham, North Carolina. I'd been accepted to the Duke Divinity School, so I was going to be getting a Master's of Theology there. I had graduated from Phoenix Seminary here in Phoenix, and I got a Master's of Theology, Master's of Divinity from that school. But I wanted to be a college professor, and that was like the story I'd been telling for the past 3 years, and aiming to get to Duke. But Duke wasn't going to give me the degree that could let me be a professor. I was going to have to get another doctorate after I got this master's degree. So I've been planning this for a super long time. I got to North Carolina, I got to Duke, and I had been planning this for a long time, so I was really surprised to find that I didn't like going to Duke Divinity School. When I got there, it was, I didn't click with the people. The debt was insane that I was taking on, and I couldn't see myself doing that degree and then another degree. I just didn't know how it would pay off. And so halfway through my first semester at Duke, I decided to drop out of that program. But we moved to North Carolina, we bought a house, and I didn't know what to do now because I'd been telling the story for a long time, and so I'm like floundering. And Amy's dad called me up and he offered me a job back here in Chandler. And so I just said yes. I didn't know what else to do. And we started making plans to move back to Phoenix while we were there also. Amy, while I was having like the worst year of my life probably, Amy had been hired to teach kindergarten at a brand new magnet school. All the teachers were either first or second year teachers, and so it was like they had this, they were like war buddies, you know? They built this program from the ground up, and so they were like really enjoying each other. They were having a really great time. So Amy was having a wonderful time, and I wasn't enjoying myself. And well, I didn't know what to do there. And so the stuff just like fell into place for us to move back to Phoenix. I got the job, and then I had a friend whose mom taught or was a principal, and so then Amy got a job. We put our house up for sale, for sale by owner, and it sold. And NPR was willing to accept my car as a donation. So it just felt like moving back was the right thing to do. We never really had a big like sit down, talk it out conversation. And so after 4 nights, we packed up our car, right? Or we packed up a giant yellow Penske truck with all our belongings. Started driving back across the 40, across the country, and it was the 4th night. We're pulling into town. We're on the I-10, and we see our exit for Ray Road, and it was like it hit us at the same moment, and we both turned to each other, and we're like, "What did we just do? Why are we moving back here? What are we doing?" And I think if we hadn't sold our house, we would have just turned around and driven back. but it was like too late. And so the next 6 months began probably like the hardest 6 months of our lives. We actually moved back in with Amy's parents. I went to work for her dad and hated it. And Amy started teaching kindergarten at the school and hated it. We were living in their house and hating it. And we found out we were going to have a baby as well. And so like that 6 months, all I could think of was the moment in the car when we turned to each other and I was like, oh, we screwed up. You know? So I decided then, I was like, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to move us back to North Carolina. I'm going to figure this out. And so after 6 months, I quit working for her dad and I got into real estate. It was 2008, so the market, the market was crashing and there was a huge opportunity actually in short sales. So I got in, I learned how to negotiate short sales, and it was really easy because everyone wanted to get rid of their house. And no one would beat you up on commission. They didn't care because they were not making any money when they sold it. So I started doing that, and then I also set up all these websites, and so I was getting all my buyer leads from these websites. And so in my head, I was like, I can just do this in North Carolina. I can just reproduce my system and do it all there. And so I set up a website there, and I got everything going. I spent all this money, and part of the process was a few months before we were going to move back to North Carolina. My plan was cooking. I went and got my real estate license there, went to visit and take the test, and I realized that I didn't want to move back to North Carolina. But I thought it was the thing that was going to make Amy happy. I thought I'm still living 3 years earlier when we screwed up, and I'm trying to fix it. So we move anyway. I'm imagining Amy is going to be so happy, and she was. When we got there, Amy was incredibly happy. She found friends. She got involved with things. Me, on the other hand, again, not so happy. Turns out that in North Carolina, real estate agents can't negotiate short sales. Lawyers have to do it, so that was a pretty big shock to my business plan the first week we were there. I still had the website though, and so I was like, okay, this website's going good. And I was getting tons of leads off the website, but the problem was, I was getting too many leads, and internet leads for real estate is if you can convert 1%, you're doing a good job. And so I was getting hundreds of leads, and I couldn't find the one lead that was the good one. It was just hundreds of bad leads. And so after, it was 11 months in, we're out of money. And I had been handling doing all this stuff. Amy doesn't really didn't know where we were. She's there's plenty of money in the account, and I was nah, it's not there. It's that's all been spent, It looks like there's money there. And so her dad was cool with me. He's hey, I can give you some money, I can float you for a few more months, but I just didn't see how it would work out. And so I was hey, Amy, we can move into our cars here, try and keep this going, or we can move back home to the house sitting there waiting for us. And so we did it again, packed up all our stuff, and we moved back to Ahwatukee this time. That's where we lived, and we were right in between. We moved back to this. It's perfect. We're right in between her parents and my parents. And so, also when we got back, Amy got really involved in her finances too. She actually took all that over. She made this incredible spreadsheet that showed clearly our financial ruin. It's all laid out there, and we're having a discussion about whose fault the financial ruin is, and I'm thinking it's not all my fault, and she's it's definitely your fault. And so I was hey, well, when we moved back to North Carolina the second time, I didn't even want to move back really. I was just doing it to make you happy. And she's well, I wish you would have asked me, because I was super happy before we moved back to North Carolina. And, I never wanted to move back to North Carolina, and the only reason I did it is because you were working so hard at setting this company up there that I just thought it was the thing you wanted to do. I was like, well, I was only doing that for you, you know? So there was this like moment of like, oh, I'm not communicating with my wife at all. And I realized you can't do the thing for someone that you think is going to make them happy. Like, you can only do the things that people want you to do for them that are going to make them happy. At every point in the turn, though, at every stop along the way, me and Amy had been happy together. We had found happiness in all of those situations. And it's because when I found Amy, I didn't just find another person to take care of. I found my home. So, thank you.